We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Welcome to Liberty Nation Radio, heard coast to coast on the Radio America Network. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. On today's special show, we are talking all things 2024 election, from the Democratic Party palace coup, whether Kamala Harris can be unburdened from her own record, how the Trump campaign has to pivot to deal with a new candidate, and why the 2024 polling situation just got a whole lot more interesting. Remember, this show is sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access breaking news, podcasts, analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. With Vice President Kamala Harris taking the reins of the Democrat nomination at the moment, what does this mean for democracy in America? And there's a whole host of wild and woolly questions that do need to be answered about what some people are calling a palace coup. We're very fortunate to have with us Liberty Nation's senior political analyst and longtime host of this here radio show, Mr. Tim Donner, who's going to help us sort the fact from the fiction. Thanks for being here, Tim.
Hello, Mark.
So, Tim, let's start with the one that really must be burning in the hearts of people who voted in a primary for Joe Biden to be their presidential nominee. How democratic is the Democratic Party being by essentially anointing Kamala Harris?
Well, there's two sides to that coin. The first side is what you said, that 13 million Democrats voted for Joe Biden in the primary. But the other side of the coin is that they were given no choice. The party elites, the elders, the donors, the people that are calling the shots in the Democratic Party. There's no question that they made the decision who the one and only candidate was going to be, and the Democratic rank and file went along with it. Now, after making that tragic mistake of putting Joe Biden at the top of the ticket, when, as we've since found out, and since we pretty much knew all along, that he wasn't up to the job of running again, and possibly not even to being commander-in-chief, right? These things became obvious, and he was forced out in a palace coup that was again led by who? The party elites: Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer. And so what they said then was, we only gave you this choice, but never mind. Now we're giving you only one other choice, and we're going to ram it down your throats the same way we did Joe Biden. And so the question, if I'm a Democrat, is if there was the kind of open primary that there should have been if Joe Biden had dropped out like he should have, could Kamala Harris have beaten out all these rising stars we're talking about in the party, like Gretchen Whitmer and Gavin Newsom and Josh Shapiro and Roy Cooper and all these guys that now are being asked to accept the second spot, one of them, on a ticket that nobody wanted, nobody expected, and that Democratic voters themselves were given no choice but to accept.
It's almost a cold irony, isn't it? The name of the party and the process by which they inflicted candidates.
The contrast to the Republicans, because, look, one of the most prominent narratives that was advanced in the early days of this campaign was that the voters didn't want Joe Biden or Donald Trump on the ballot. They wanted alternatives. They wanted other candidates, other choices. So while the Democrats said, nah, we're going to ride with Biden, the Republicans said, okay, the data is baked in, that people have a prevailing negative view of Donald Trump. So what are we going to do about this? So they held a primary process that was legitimate, that attracted other attractive candidates, alternatives to Trump, like Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley. Okay. Trump still wiped the floor with him. But the point was that there was an affirmation by the Republican rank and file of the unity that we now see. He won the primaries fair and square in a competitive process against other strong candidates. The result, the party is united, while the Democrats completely fractured and in chaos.
So it's not yet official that she is the nominee because they still
Pretty
have to.
much, though.
Sure. AP News ran an informal delegate count last week, informed delegate survey where they racked up and said that she does have more than enough to go.
Right.
So that will probably happen.
In the space of 24 hours.
It's
She
almost
was
as though they
magically-
started before.
Oh, well, certainly you're not suggesting that they were considering a Biden withdrawal before he actually withdrew. But look, I think there's an early perception that, Kamala Harris will have a mini honeymoon here. She'll be glamorized. She'll be lifted up to be the female Barack Obama. She's going to be a rock star. She's going to be all over social media with a lot of hip, cool stuff. Her polls will climb, and we'll talk about that later. Her polls will climb temporarily. But it's what happens next when they really look at her record. It's going to be frightening.
And we're going to come back and examine that record after this short break. Don't go anywhere. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.